Now, we want to shift gears away from national news to matters that speak to who we are as a country, who we are as a people, as a society, and who we are as individuals. We're talking about peace today. And the conversation revolves around something we would like to call transgenerational conversations for peace. And this is something about cultivating a culture for peace. All this, of course, is in the running of just before, 2 days before the International Day of Peace. And we want you to really pay attention to these conversations because the insights therein will surprise you, astound you, and hopefully inspire you. And tonight we are joined by somebody who's the absolute, perhaps, expert on this subject. This is none other than the chairperson, no less, of the National Cohesion and Integration Commissioner, the Right Reverend Sam Kobia. This gentleman has served as an advisor on cohesion all over the world. He has also served as a commissioner in the Judicial Service Commission. He has also served as an ecumenical special envoy to the Sudans. You know how volatile that region has been. He's been a special envoy to the Sudans. He's also served for about 10, 11 years as the Chancellor of St. Paul's University. This gentleman has also served as the former Secretary General for the World Council of Churches based in Geneva. He's got a vast experience in matters mediation and dialogue. And of course, this is his passion, this is his life's work, and this is his legacy. I don't think we have anyone better to talk to us about this. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and thank you for your very kind words of introduction.
Absolutely. It's the least we could say about your vast experience and your very, very rich CV. Thank you for your service to the nation, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen who are watching us, the Reverend Kobia is joining us from Eldoret. And, sir, I want you to talk to us a little bit about the concept of peace. What does peace mean to you personally, and what is it about peace that made it your life's work, so to speak?
Well, first of all, I want to say that as a Christian, a theologian, and a leader in the ecumenical movement worldwide, I derive my understanding of peace from Jesus Christ, who is described as the Prince of Peace. And Jesus himself said that he came to bring peace to the humankind. And for that peace to thrive and to flourish, it is important that we look at peace not just as absence of war, but as a way of life. Mm. And that is only when we see peace as a way of life where human beings want to be at peace with each other, at peace with their God, whoever they consider their God to be, at peace with the creation. So for me, peace is holistic. It's not just the absence of peace, of war or conflict, but also is not a passive peace, but active peace, which means that there have to be ways of resolving conflicts and wars that are peaceful and not based on violence.
Right, right. Thank you for that. You did say something, and I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more. You said you prefer that we all embrace an active sort of peace rather than a passive sort of peace. Would you care to give us the distinction between the two, active peace versus passive peace, and why one is better than the other?
Yes, by active peace, I mean that when something goes wrong that disturbs peace or harmony and happiness, relationship between human beings, then what needs to be done is to take initiative in making sure that the root cause or causes of the conflict are addressed at their root and not just the symptoms. Passive peace could be seen as you just keep away from even conflicts and hope that the other person will keep away. But you have to face conflicts head on. That then means you have to find ways of resolving conflicts peacefully. Now, this means, first of all, by providing a space or an environment within which the parties in conflict can come to talk to each other. But what that also means is that they have to have a trust in the kind of space or platform provided by whoever is trying to resolve or to help them to resolve their conflicts.
All right. Now, I understand that the organization that you had, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, is working on something called a framework for transgenerational conversations, which is part of a broader effort towards cultivating a culture of peace. Sir, these are big words. We want you to break it down for us. What does it mean? What is this framework for transgenerational conversations, and why should we pay attention to it, sir?
Well, the reason for the NCIC to come up with this framework is because looking at where we are as a country and as a people called Kenyans, we have challenges that can only be met if we understood each other as citizens, if we embrace patriotism and say that, look, we have challenges, we have problems, but we are the ones who can resolve them. And the biggest challenge the country really has faced is when the Gen Z stormed the national stage and occupied it, and obviously there were implications of this, whether it's economically or politically, and we see that within a short time, the Gen Z were able to accomplish what I would say all political parties together and even with the civil society could not achieve. And when we look at why, then the president really found it necessary to dissolve the cabinet when the bill, Finance Bill 24 was dropped, when we saw that the reconstitution of the IEBC has been fast-forwarded. So this means that there are ways that obviously a message can be sent and action be taken. This is by a generation called Gen Zoom. But then, as a country, we have a history of resistance and struggles against oppression, against any form of dehumanizing Kenyans. So what we have said is the framework we are providing is to say all of us, all the generations must come together, because since the time of colonialism from 1920s, each generation at the age where Gen Zoom are at, they also did something significant in making sure that they get back their humanity and freedom and justice and peace. So what we are doing as NCIC, because our mandate is to try and get Kenyans to live peacefully in a just society and cohesively. So that is why yesterday, when I called a meeting to announce this framework, I had 5 generations at the platform. The oldest person being 103 years, that is Yetu Wakahengeri,
wow,
who was detained in the struggle for independence. He was detained in Manyani maximum detention camp and Lamu, and he survived, and therefore he has a story to tell. Then I had what I would call baby boomers, and that's perhaps even the generation I belong to myself,
right,
where we talked about the struggle against the single-party dictatorship of 1970s and 80s. That time I was the General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Kenya, and I was part of what we organized for people to say, now time has come for us to liberate ourselves from the shackles of single-party dictatorship. And that is what led to the first of the Mau Mau, we can call it the first generation, and then achieving multipartyism is the second liberation, which went all the way to culminating in the promulgation of Constitution 2010. So what we are saying is that we need now to come together, and no generation should be too confident that alone they can do what we need to do together. And that is why we are saying we are providing a platform so that we can have transgenerational conversations, and we tell stories where we have succeeded. Then we ask why did we succeed? And if we did that, the Gen Z will begin to see that there are Kenyans of older generations who can contribute to what now needs to be done to build on the successes or the gains that the Gen Z have made. So that's basically what it is. So we started with the meeting of yesterday. On Saturday, when we mark the International Day of Peace in Kapenguria in West Pokot, that will be the second time we'll now be rolling out this program for transgenerational conversations, starting from the bottom, from the communities, to the locations, to counties, and back again to the national stage. So it is a very, very ambitious, but I would feel that we need it this time. Come and let us reason together.
Right. Now, sir, in this country, we are no strangers to conflict. We're no strangers to sometimes even inter-community conflict. We're talking about things on a somewhat larger scale, away from, person-to-person conflict. One of the areas that has been, unfortunately, and I say this with respect even to the people that live there, one of the areas that has been affected by matters of peace has been the North Rift region. I would like you to talk to us a little bit about some of the achievements that have happened there. I understand there are some counties like West Pokot, for example, which is something of a model county. I think one of the few that actually has a CEC for peace and such. I would like you to talk to us about what's going on there that is turning the tide on the stories that we've always told about that area, sir.
Yes, well, thank you for that question. And the reason for the NCIC to choose to commemorate the International Day of Peace in West Pokot, it's a way, or it signifies actually the achievements that have been made in West Pokot. And it is the people, the leaders of West Pokot themselves, who approached NCIC some months back and say, why don't you come to West Pokot so that we can show Kenyans that we are now embracing peace. And what has happened there, and as you have said quite correctly, when people hear the name West Pokot, they only think of cattle rustling, they think of, people killing each other. Now, what the leadership there is saying is that during the period we have worked together, there are what we call peace dividends that have made the people of West Pokot to realize that they are better off living in peace. Because when you are not fighting, then development takes place. Children can go to school. Women can go to the market and meet other women of different ethnic communities and go home peacefully. Communities can begin to talk to each other. So it is these peace dividends, like what I have mentioned, opening of schools, women going to markets, young men now beginning to tell us that we would like to have alternatives to livelihoods, and we will give up cattle rustling and violence altogether. So this is very encouraging. That's what I really would like Kenyans to know, that here is a part of Kenya that has been equal to what really I would say different types of conflicts, but now they are beginning to embrace peace. And that is where we are going to celebrate peace there in order to show that indeed things have changed in West Pokot. And that message also can be taken to other parts of the country where there are ethnic conflicts or boundary conflicts, because there are so many counties and communities, as you have rightly said, who are in conflict because of boundaries or because of different ethnic communities.
Wow, that's wonderful, sir. But here's another question. I'm looking at our country, and as vast and as culturally diverse as it is, sometimes that element of culture does get in the way of some processes. I want you to talk to us a little bit about the place of women and youth, especially in the process of peace building, with a cultural backdrop of these two groups, and some, in some communities, they don't really have a say in the matter. In some places, only the elders, and particularly male elders, are allowed to have any positions of influence or to even speak, in public addresses. What is the place of women and youth in the process of peace building for this future that you've described?
Well, I would like to state very confidently that if we bring women and youth to peace platforms, we will succeed even faster than we are doing when we have approaches to peace that exclude women and young people. I say this because of, really practical experiences that we had. For example, in Isiolo. Now, Isiolo is one of the places where in Isiolo town they talk of the Big Five, not the animals, but the Big Five tribes.
The community.
Boran, Mero, Somali, Turkana, and Samburu. And for a long time, men only were the ones that were meeting to discuss about how to resolve conflicts, until they then realized that actually you are excluding two extremely important categories of women and men and the young people. Young people, first of all, because they are the ones who go to fight. And I must say that we have been encouraged to see in these areas, like Samburu, we are now in the process of dealing with Moranism. And because Moranism is, the situation where Morans must go to fight, must bring cattle back home, as they say, and to do that, they get the blessing of the elders. So we have had meetings with the elders in Samburu and other pastoral communities where they have said, okay, we are not going to any longer be sending young people with the blessings to go and steal other people's cows. And the young men that we have talked with, they have told us that, look, we are prepared to leave this tradition, and if you give us alternatives for livelihoods, we will take it. And therefore, in Isiolo, we came up with Women for Peace, and then the young people are agreeing to begin really to look for alternatives, which we wanted to work with, especially Ministry of Cooperatives, who have promised that they will provide financial means for these young, the youth, not only men, but also women, young women, to have new ways of earning their livelihoods. So I want to say that we are really at a very critical stage where, from my own understanding of peace building around the world, that actually we have reached a point in Kenya where if we leverage on some of these gains and the change of mentality and attitude, and even culture, because the culture of violence has accompanied our communities' lives in Kenya for a long time. So I think now there is the goodwill among the different generations. There is means, alternative resources, I would say, and now it's a question of coming together. And in this, I must say that part of the transgenerational conversations will facilitate such engagements with all generations.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. Now, sir, before I let you go, I want to give you an opportunity to speak to Kenyans from your heart. If there's one message you'd like to pass across to the nation of Kenya, the people that are listening to you, all the different generations that you have referred to, from boomers all the way to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, wote. Naomba uzungumze nao from your heart. Give them a message.
Well, thank you very much. I really want to talk to my compatriots, Kenyans, to say that we have one of the most blessed countries in the world with a mosaic of cultures and a wellspring of potential. If we are able to navigate the storm that we see today and consider the opportunities that we have for maintaining and even improving on the peace that we have, because Kenya for a long time has been an oasis of peace in this region, and many of our neighbors are looking up to Kenya and saying, we really would not want to see Kenya lose the peace that they have, because that's where we go when we have conflicts and violence in our own country. So I want to tell Kenyans, we have a really beautiful and blessed country. I have traveled really really almost in all countries of the world when I was General Secretary of the World Council of Churches. And I would say if Kenyans knew what a beautiful country we have, we can only build on that, but let's not do anything that would disturb the peace, the tranquility, but above all, the resources that we have of our people. And if we work together, there is no doubt that we are going to make this country bigger and better and stronger, which is going to be good for all Kenyans of all generations and in all places and in all our diverse cultures. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your message, loud and clear. Good people, that has been the Reverend Sam Kobia, who's the chairperson of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, that is NCIC, on the subject of transgenerational conversations and, of course, cultivating the culture of peace, which is the theme for this year's International Day of Peace, coming up this Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Victor Muyakane, and I wish you a good night, and I certainly hope you have found some insight on Insight Tonight with me. Up next is your weekly sporting action, turbocharged sporting action in VAR. I'm out. God bless you.